Hello everybody, thanks for clicking on this video. My name is Matygoo and today I want to try something a bit experimental. I'm going to be talking about the game Duke Nukem Forever. A lot of people have a go at this game and it does have its problems, but I've had some fun times too and I think there's potential. So today I'd like to just kind of workshop it, just talk about what I would fix, what I would change, just little things to make the game better in my opinion. A what if. And at the end, as kind of a little bonus, I want to talk about Duke Nukem 3D. So I'm going to leave timestamps in the description and you can just jump ahead to whichever bit you want to hear about. Let's get started. Duke Nukem Forever. For the beginning at least, I wouldn't change anything. The first change will come outside when you go down the streets and there's an explosion, big crater, the first boss of the game appears, the Battlelord. Now, you fight the Battlelord twice in this game and both fights are pretty identical. So I would swap the first Battlelord out for something else, and I had an idea. If you recall Duke Nukem 3D, the chapter The Birth, the pig cops in that drove around in small tanks, and in this game those pig cops in tanks are in the opening credits, but they're not actually in the game. This is where I would put them in, or one big one that you can't destroy from the front and you have to circle round the back and shoot the pig cops off the back who are controlling it. This would be the first boss of the game, and to give you an example of what I'm picturing, the scene from Labyrinth movie where the sewer cleaner machine, I'm imagining something like that. The second Battlelord that you fight on Hoover Dam, I would leave that pretty much unchanged. The only thing I would do is make it so that he's 2 hits like the first Battlelord would have been, not 3 hits like the Cycloid Emperor, so that when you fight the Cycloid Emperor later, he's stronger by comparison. Now, one big problem I had was halfway between these 2 boss fights when you're making your way to Dukeburger. There's a gun turret level and it is very difficult. A lot of people online say they got stuck on this and I'm one of them. I almost got the achievement for completing the game on hard, but I couldn't because that's just the one level I could not do just because of that turret level. Even on easy, it's a challenge. I wouldn't get rid of it, I would just make it a little bit easier, just 1 or 2 ships left. Just take the edge off, that's all. Now I want to talk about one of the biggest problems of the game, the final battle and the DLC. You reach the foot of the Hoover Dam, you fight the Cycloid Emperor, the nuke goes off, end credits. It feels sudden and it leaves a bit of a sour taste, because you don't feel like you've played a full game. And you haven't. There's a DLC and it's actually pretty good, and once you've finished that, you feel like you've had a full game. And that's the thing that bothers me. It doesn't feel like a little extra or an add-on. It feels like the second half of the plot, like the game's been split and you're paying for part 2. So I wouldn't bother, I would just include that on the disc. That's part of the game. So right now at the Hoover Dam, we're halfway through, which means I'm pushing the Cycloid Emperor back because he's got to be the final battle. So now, in his stead, is where we're going to introduce the Overlord. The Overlord is just a really cool design, and I'm disappointed that he wasn't included in the game, especially since he's in the opening credits. So I'd put him here. He attacks the president, the fight begins the same. The only difference is he takes 2 hits instead of 3, and like how with the Cycloid Emperor you'd run up on his back, pull out the breathing tubes, with the Overlord you run up on his back, mess with the rocket launcher, it fires out a bunch of rockets. The second round he's firing heat-seeking missiles that chase you. You run up on his back, mess with it, the heat-seeking missiles fly out, circle round, coming towards you, you jump off his back, it hits him, blows his head off, whatever, he's defeated. Then the rest goes the same. The general comes along in his airship, grabs your hand, picks you up, the nuke gets in the way, and it fades to black. But instead of the whole, I ain't dead, I'm coming back for more, end credits, you wake up in what would have been the DLC, in that chair with Dr. Proton talking to you, and the next part begins. So now you make your way through what would have been the DLC but is now the second half of the game. And this is good, this is variety, this brings something new to the table. You get to fight the Duke robots and Proton, you make your way to the moon and you fight that final boss. This is where the game would end, but I'm going to add on a bit extra. You're suddenly back at the hotel where you were at the beginning of the game, except now the general's there congratulating you, something like, good job Duke. Then outside you hear a ruckus, explosions, screaming, so you go to check it out. You go down the lift, you go out through that little side door where those people were before, there's fire, there's ruins, you make your way out onto the roads, and that's where the Cycloid Emperor is, and the final battle happens, same as it did before. 3 hits, you got to pull out the tubes, the Devastator gets dropped, and obviously you've gotten the Devastator before now in the game to play with, but this is the final battle. It fades to black, you get that kind of "I'm gonna run for president" before the credits, then the credits play. Then a little post-credits sequence, just a little idea I had, a short cutscene or something out in space, zoom in on an alien world, zoom into the darkness, Cycloid Emperor Eye opens up, oh, the end, maybe it's not over, I don't know. All of that together, the whole game in one package, I think that would be something a lot better. But that's not technically the end of it. There is one more thing I want to talk about. The online multiplayer matches, or Duke matches. Because they had DLC, some extra levels, some extra guns that you can't normally get. And I faintly remember a problem where I wanted to join people who were having a match in a DLC level, and I couldn't because I hadn't bought it. Or when I finally bought DLC, other people couldn't come join and play with me because they hadn't bought the DLC. And so the DLC levels were quite empty. I could be wrong about this, it could be a false memory, sorry if I am wrong about that, but it just seems like a bit of a mess. I mean, there's only 1 or 2 arenas and 1 or 2 guns, and they're pretty cool. They could just include them in the game. And I know that's probably not good for profit, but we're talking about how to make the best possible version here. Well, that's pretty much my thoughts and everything I want to say about Duke Nukem Forever. Now, I would like to talk about Duke Nukem 3D. This is a pretty awesome game, and I have no problems with it. The original versions anyway, for the PC and later the PlayStation 1. But the main thing I want to talk about is the later releases, when they've brought it out for the new consoles as a download for PS3 and 4 and Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Well, my first problem is with the music, because Duke 3D was a computer game first, and then they brought it over to the PS1, and when they did that, they added some awesome music, some rock, some electric guitar, but I don't think too many people know about that, because coming back to the PC version, the music is not as good by comparison, I feel. It's almost non-existent. But in the new releases, that's the music they've gone with. I don't know if it's because that's what more people know, or it's considered traditional, but I can't see going with the PS1 music over the PC music as anything but a good thing. I'm going to put in here some comparisons for you.
Hail to the king, baby.
And the final thing I want to talk about is the chapter Plug and Pray, because it gets left out of the new releases. You can now download Duke Nukem 3D to your next-gen consoles and play it, and it's supposed to be a collection of everything, all the chapters. You've got Hollywood Holocaust, Lunar Apocalypse, Shrapnel City, The Birth, and I think they've just made a new chapter. But they always leave out Plug and Pray, and people say, well, it's because it's a PlayStation exclusive, but one of the consoles that you can download to now is PlayStation. So I say, why do they never include it? And people online say, well, if you want to play it, go get a PS1. I have a PS1, that's not the point. If you want to play The Birth, I don't say to you, go get an old PC with DOS. It would be awesome if there was just one collection you could download which had all 6 chapters on for you to play. Also, some people didn't like Plug and Pray, which I found surprising. I enjoyed it, but their main argument seemed to be that it was too hard or difficult. But I think it's supposed to be. You play the first 3 and then this is like the hard mode. I mean, it's called Plug and Pray. Another idea to play around with is getting Duke Nukem 3D, or Total Meltdown as it's also known, just in its entirety, and just including it in Duke Nukem Forever, just in the extras or on the menus, in the same way that Doom 3, it included both of its prequels, Doom 1 and 2, just all on the same one disc. Now that's pretty much it. I just had some ideas in my head I wanted to throw around, and if you guys have any ideas of your own or anything you want to say or to add, then just leave it in the comments, and leave a like if you liked the video. If it does well enough, I might do something like this covering another game. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.